So now we're going to go into the second step of first week slides and activities. And part of that is talking about the different training and designing processes. We're going to focus primarily on ADDIE, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, but there are other ways of going through this. This is a nice graphical display of how you walk through this. And this is in part how you're going to do between this and ADDIE, how you're going to do some of the projects you're going to be working on or training sessions this semester that you're going to be using. You conduct a needs assessment or a gap analysis. You ensure that the employees are ready for training. One of the key components is making sure that they're ready, they're ready and receptive to absorb and use the learning that you've got, or that you're working on. You create a learning environment so the space, physical space, is conducive to training. You ensure the transfer of training, which we'll spend a whole evening on transfer of training. We'll spend another evening on the evaluation. How do we know we were successful? That's one of the key components, is making sure you're successful in the training itself. The design and conducting training, we're going to spend a bunch of time on that, because that's where the focus is for a training class, is the training and design. And then we're going to monitor and evaluate, which is normal. That's the feedback loop. ADDIE does a similar type of process where and it's, again, as I said, it's a loop. So we're going to analyze, which could be a gap analysis, a needs assessment. Then we're going to design the concepts as to what determine and design what needs to be trained. Then we're going to develop the training and actually go through those steps of lesson plan creations and talk about the theory of how it will be explained to your trainees. Then we're going to implement it. So we're actually going to do the training. And this is part of the ADDIE process. And then you're going to evaluate what that process is, what occurred, and how that worked out, and where are there steps that you need to work on. And then you're going to go back through the process again. It's an iterative process that you need to work through. So questions for you to think about, because I think that's important, is why is it important to have a systemized designing training format? What are the limitations to the different types of models we're talking about? And what should you do in practice? Think about those, because for any process that you go through, having a systemized design process will assure you're successful, and when you're at the end of the process, that you've covered all the gaps. When you're writing a research paper, most of the time you're going to outline that I'm going to do A, B, C, D, E, and it may be a high level outline, but that's the way you do it. When you're running a project, you're going to do a work breakdown structure. So similar types of activities. What are the limitations of the two design models? You need to think about that and then fill in those gaps. It may be a technology piece that you haven't thought about, or a new theory, or you're not addressing from a generational standpoint or a learning theory standpoint. You may miss something. So that's kind of what you need to think about. And what should you do in practice? What are best practices? Should you use Zoom? Talk about technology. Should you use Teams? What are the best practices? So you need to be aware of what those practices are and how you migrate through that. So that's a few of the types of things that are going to be talking about.